Okay.
And we are live.
We
Hey,
are-
everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to Carolina Retirement Planners, 77th happy half hour.
77.
Yep, 77. I am Sam Shukavage, and with me, as always, is my father and the president and CEO of Carolina Retirement Planners, David Shukavage. Hey, Dad.
Hey, Sam.
and also with us behind the scenes making everything work like a charm is Amy, our director of client fun. Hey, Amy.
Hello.
And happy Thursday.
Goodbye.
Happy Thursday to everybody out there on the interwebs joining us today here on Facebook. It is lovely to have you all here with us, bundled up. I think it's probably warm wherever you're at. I mean, cold wherever you're at. I hope you are warm. Nice, chilly.
Oh no. Oh wait, wait. I have to interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast to make an announcement.
Oh no.
I am no longer able to give love and hugs and love and likes on anybody's comments, and I cannot comment back. So I just want to let everybody know that I love interacting with all of you, and I will be taking all of your messages and loves and comments and everything and sending them to David and to Sam. But I, per government regulations, am no longer able.
Turns out the Security and Exchange Administration will not let us share hugs or make comments on.
It hurts my heart.
But tell us you're here. Tell us what you're doing. And we just can't hug you as a result. Write your congressman. Write your congressman.
We can actually say hi. And what started is because Miranda was the first one to say hello. So hello. And I instantly wanted to give her a little hug. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. And it just makes my heart hurt. So write your congressman or something. Tell him, let us do it again. So
compliance.
Try again.
Compliance.
Yeah.
We are apparently a very heavily regulated industry, and we found out that interacting with your Facebook comments, but if you were to write something and we click like, apparently that means that we therefore endorse everything that you say afterwards.
How ridiculous is that? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of ever in my life.
Needless to say, the securities industry, the government regulators are having a hard time with social media. So this is the latest thing, but we love you anyway. So even if we, and we see that, well, Kristen has joined us. She's actually in the next room. Randy is here. Miranda, another regular.
And Teresa. I know it is very sad. It's very sad. So apparently we have to be very careful with how we are interacting with you.
And as you know, each week we try to talk about try to bring some topic in an educational kind of topic, but in an entertaining manner. And we're going to talk about interest rates and what's happening with them and the Fed and all that stuff today. But we always like to start with a little more fun stuff. And we always like to start with what day it is. And Amy, you are the keeper of the days. What day is
the keeper of the days?
The keeper of the days. It is National Make Your Dream Come True today.
Ooh,
and
this
you know
is
what?
a good day.
I want my dream to be able to like and hug and love everybody, because this is really hard, because all I want to do is like and hug and love. But yes,
Well,
that is Make Your Dream Come True today.
You need to
harder
go
than I
tell
thought it
your.
would be.
We
Yeah.
all need to go tell our loved one what day it is and kind of just tell them what dreams we wish they'd make come true, So
We had Neil and I, my husband and I, we made a dream come true for ourselves this year, or very recently. Even though it was not, even though it is the worst time to buy a used car, pretty much. I can't think of a much worse time. We did choose to well, we didn't, the situation chose us But since moving down here, we have been wanting to have a 4-wheel drive vehicle so we could take it out on the beach. And we very recently completed our purchase of a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So now we have a Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk. And we just got our year pass. So we are able to, and just went out on the beach for the first time, driving on
Sounds
the
like-
beach on a beautiful, chilly day.
I'm gonna have to go in the basement, dust off the old surf rod, I guess, you know?
Oh, you have a surf rod?
Well,
Yeah, you
somewhere,
are.
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do that. And I was actually
That's
thinking about
impressive,
going down to
yeah.
the store on the island there and buying a surf rod, so I could at least look like I'm doing something other than, when
Yeah.
it's so cold out, like there's not much to do other than, drive up and down it and look at the water. So, but we made our dream come true. So I do have I did get to live a little bit of my dream today.
Oh, good. And let's see, we also can say hi to, I guess Bruce has joined us. Ed's good to see you're here, as usual. And Diane, Rich, Angela, Robert, good to see you once again. Susan, you too. One person says we have too many bureaucrats. You will not, and I can't identify the person anymore because I'd get into trouble. So
I know, I hate, that's a new rule too. This is so
Yeah,
hard. There are so many great comments coming in right now.
there's great
And I'm like,
comments,
oh my gosh.
we can comment on the comment, but we can't comment on who made it. I guess go figure. Patrick, it's good to see you're here, and Debbie, Eric, Alexander. Boy, we got a good crowd tonight. Eric is here, so we're going to have a good time with today's presentation. And I am going to go see if I can successfully get this thing loaded here now. I'm trying
Getting all the technology to successfully enter the slide. Oh, and we got Jane Carter here too.
Okay. Anybody, Sam, do you know what building this is?
Ooh, is this the Federal Reserve?
This is the Federal Reserve. And it is sort of America's bank.
Ah,
And
it looks very like a very official building.
that's right. And there's the Federal Reserve. In fact, someday we got to do the history of the Federal Reserve and the history of inflation, because it gets even more important. Before the Federal Reserve, there really was no inflation, but that's a whole other presentation. Their goal, Congress kind of gave them a goal in the 1970s, two parallel goals, or goals they're supposed to do at the same time. One is they're supposed to keep us at full employment. They're supposed to, arrange for everybody to be employed. And their other goal is to you might say, conquer inflation and keep it around 2%. I find it humorous because, again, inflation is something that was almost invented when we started messing with the money supply. But that's their parallel goals, the two things the Federal Reserve is supposed to do. And there's two levers they have to do that. One is the federal funds rate, and the other is, well, it's become more popular in the last couple decades. It's what we now call quantitative easing, or manipulation of overall interest rates. How do I see if I can spell it here? And the federal funds rate is the rate that they set that banks can lend money to each other basically overnight. Banks have to keep a certain reserve ratio on hand. And boy, this would get really boring if we got into it in deep, but basically the banks every night kind of lend money back and forth, and it sets sort of the kind of a minimum interest rate that the banks can use.
Wow,
And
down in the early
it,
80s, things were crazy.
yeah, well, let's start by looking right here. In 2008. Remember
Mhm.
what happened in 2008?
Oh, I do.
Not
That
so
was
good.
right before I graduated college, and
That was,
everyone said, "Oh, you're about to graduate."
yeah, that's the last great big recession,
Yeah.
depression we had, whatever you want to call it. You know, that's when the banks collapsed, and the real estate market collapsed, and so the government wanted to stimulate the economy, and that was really for the first time you can see since the 50s that they actually took the rate to zero. For years then, for a decade or 5 or 6 years, the rate was basically zero. Lending money was basically free for these banks. Came up a little bit and it's back to zero again. Back here with the COVID coming in and the crash, it's zero again. So, but what's interesting, if you look here in the 80s, now, I know, Sam, and you're not old enough to remember the 1980s, but I know a lot of people on our call today can remember the Jimmy Carter years. Remember what you had for mortgages then, like 18, 20%? You'd also make 18, 20% on your CDs. The federal funds rate went to 20%. You know, they were really trying to keep inflation down by making money expensive. If money gets expensive, then people aren't likely to go borrow and buy cars and take loans and buy as much. And so inflation will go down. And so here on this graph, we can see in these 40 years, the two extremes between 20% and 0%. What gets interesting though is in 2008, when they cut it to zero, the economy was still a mess. And they said, oh man, what else can we do to stimulate the economy? And so what they did, and let's just go kind of, how do they go to, let's go to, here is, being difficulty. Here is the Fed. And what they did is they went out here and they started buying bonds, government bonds, and they started buying mortgage-backed securities. And they said, we're going to go buy these. We're going to go out and buy a whole bunch of these. And as a result, we're going to take and we're going to send money out into the economy when we buy these. Now, where did they get the money to go out and buy bonds and all this? Well, basically, this is where printing money comes into play. They basically, with a few keystrokes, created the money, used it to buy the bonds, brought the bonds into their little vault of bonds, and pumped all this money into the economy. And when you pump money into the economy, you know, what happens? What happens when the economy gets lots of money, Sam?
People go out and buy things.
People go out and buy things. What kind of things do they buy?
I don't know. They probably go to Target, right?
Amazon, Amazon, Amazon.
Amazon, yeah, maybe not in 2008, but now
or...
they're going to buy
maybe not 2008, but yeah.
They're going to go buy TVs and cell phones and furniture and houses and cars and all these things. Because
time to upgrade to the new iPhone.
Yeah, they get a lot of money going. And in the meantime, the interest rates are really low and we're pumping more money in. If you want to borrow money, it's cheap to borrow. And, you know, car loans are, you know, next to nothing for a while. And so you stimulate the economy and get the economy going by pumping money in. Now, this is a graph of the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve from 2020 to the present. You see, Here was the beginning of 2020. Here's when COVID struck, and you can see they started buying bonds and securities and went from 4 trillion in assets that they had on their balance sheet up to over like 8.8 over here. You know, and what's interesting though is to go a little further back and look even further back. This is prior to 08. This is 2008 here when everything collapsed. Prior to that, we didn't have that big a balance sheet, less than $1 trillion. And you can see starting in 08, we started buying more and more assets, and it started to go up and up and up. And now here is COVID. If you look at COVID, we more or less doubled it again. So it's kind of like all this money has been unleashed into the economy, and now the Fed owns all these assets. And, you know, it's kind of sort of logical that this can't go on forever, that we kind of need to unravel this. This is an interesting part. If you notice here, starting in about 2017, you see how the amount went down? We decreased the amount that the Fed had on its balance sheet. That's where they began to reverse quantitative easing. And it's kind of interesting how they do that. It's kind of interesting how they reverse quantitative easing, because inside the Fed, they have all these assets. You know, they have this bond. And if you think about it, this bond produces interest. And then when the bond comes due, a whole lot of money comes out, and the government pays off that bond, or the mortgage-backed security is paid off, and they end up with a pot of money. While they're doing quantitative easing, they take that money and reinvest it and spend it on more bonds. To unravel it, what they do is when that bond interest comes in or that bond comes due, and now they're left with money, they basically throw it away. The money basically disappears as easily as it was created. And that basically takes the money out of the economy. And it does a couple things, and it's more than we can go into in a half hour, but one of the things it does is that by decreasing the money supply, banks have less money to work with, and they're always keep one eye on to be sure the banks don't run out of money and hit some problems with their reserves. But it also can affect the stock market and the like. And you can see they decreased it for a while, but right about here at the end of the beginning of 2019, they stopped. And one reason is this is the beginning of 2019. This is the end of 2018. Those of you may remember the market took a big dip. I think it fell like 16% in 3 days here. And some people attribute that to the fact that they've been taking the money back out of the system. And so at that point, the Fed kind of got wet feet, and they went back to increasing it again up for a few months before COVID hit. So that's kind of an interesting piece to see what's going on. And right now there is talk that the Fed is going to once again begin to reverse the quantitative easing and take the money back out. And when interest rates go up, a number of things happen. One, we don't have as much money to, costs more to do money, so we don't spend as much. And if we don't spend as much, what does that do? What are we worried about right now in the economy? What's big on the news?
Companies staying afloat.
Yeah, but also what else is happening in the economy?
The stock market doing well?
Well, it's inflation. Inflation's going through the roof.
Inflation.
When we pull money out of the economy, we end up with, we end up hopefully decreasing inflation. That's one of the goals of the Fed is to decrease inflation. So hopefully this will cause us to decrease inflation, but it does other things. And like you said, stock market wise, these are three headlines I pulled, or three little pieces I pulled out of the Wall Street Journal this week. They're talking about IPO had a record in 2021. Now they're selling off like crazy. When interest rates go up, people say, wow, I might be better off buying bonds than taking risk with all these stocks. And so they're finding out that IPOs have dropped in price below even their initial offering price. A couple of Mondays ago, the S&P took a big dip. And again, that's because the threat of these yields going up. And they're talking about how the rally in tech stocks is crushed by this increase in. So we're seeing the stock market, especially portions of it, those high flyers are kind of like, are starting to get hit with this threat of the government basically pulling money out of the economy and driving interest rates on bonds and things up. So that's another piece. Now, I know someone out there is going to say, well, with inflation and all, maybe I should go put money in gold. And I just found this as I was poking around. This is from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and it shows the red line here is the blue line is the price of gold. And you can see the big fluctuations in it. The red line is the price of gold adjusted for inflation. And you can see it really didn't change much from 1981 to 2021. Gold held its value, but didn't go up. Heck, if you bought Apple in 1981, think where you'd be now, or almost anything in the stock market. So gold may not be the greatest place to go. And I'm always amused by the big changes in price, even over a short period of time. So that's another little piece to think about. And so we're bumping up. Let me talk about three more things. We're bumping up against the top of the hour. And if you say, well, what does all this mean for investing? Well, there's three areas when you go into investing, sometimes you like to say, how far out can I see? What can I predict? What's going to go on and what will it mean? And we see three things kind of happening. One is inflation. We see that inflation is going to be going up. We see that interest rates are probably going to be going up. And we also know that the government is pouring a whole lot of money into the economy. I don't know, we passed a $1 trillion bill for Build Back Better. And so we've committed to increasing the infrastructure. You remember Amy and Sam, what they're planning to do with that money? What kind of things they're going to build?
Well, I know that some people are arguing because infrastructure, they're thinking about, roads and all of that, but I believe that there's some other things that are in there. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, they're talking about the internet, bringing the internet,
Right.
faster internet to more
Yes.
people. So we kind of know that the government, one is we may see some inflation, we may see interest rates, and we're going to see a lot of money pumped into the infrastructure. And there are things that you can almost predict are probably going to do well. And if you go out there and look at the right companies, and one of the groups we work with, one of our investment groups, has actually built has a fund that's aimed at these three. And besides buying some bank stocks and all, they're buying things like Caterpillar and John Deere, the people that are making if we're going to repair all those roads, it's going to take a lot of bulldozers, right? So they're looking for companies that are making bulldozers. They're looking for steel companies, the certain steel companies that are likely to do well, because there's a lot of rebar and all in those bridges. There's a lot of steel going to go in when we replace all those bridges that are falling down. They're buying things like Corning optical fibers. You know, if we're going to put in that increase the internet, we're going to lay more fiber down. So our own homegrown, our own right here in Wilmington, Corning, where I worked for some time making optical fibers, they're going to do well. So there are some ways to use this what's going on in the economy to actually say, these might be the ones to spend a little money and take some bets on. I mean, if someone's interested in that, get a hold of us. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that particular account or that particular strategy. But we are 4 minutes before. Boy, time goes fast when
It really
seems like
does. It goes so fast.
What comes next? What's next on our agenda? What do we always finish off happy half hour with?
Well, are you going to make me do something else before our favorite part?
I don't think so, unless you have something you want to do.
No.
Tell a joke, sing,
Do a tap dance, but
I love
then
jokes.
you'd have to see that I'm not wearing any shoes. So
Here's the thing. My mom says wine, wine, wine. And I just don't have the heart to tell her that she just can't win. So I'm just going to tell her right now. I'm sorry, Mom. You can't win. Sorry,
Aw.
Mom. Your name is never in there.
We should just send her some wine.
I just broke it to her. I just broke it to her now. I just broke it to her live. Sorry, Mom.
Well, she's got you. You're intoxicating enough.
Yeah, right? There you go. I like it.
So what we are doing now is my personal favorite part of our weekly happy half hours. It is our wine drawing. And if you have not been a part of our happy half hour before, if it is your first time here, this is what is happening. Each week we give away 2 bottles of wine delivered directly to your door. These come from Fermental Bottle Shop, a really cool locally owned beer and wine bottle shop, have a great beer garden. They're about to be moving to downtown Wilmington into the cargo district. And to enter, everyone wants to know how to enter. You are going to, each week we, I need to write this down and memorize it. I just fumble over it every week. How do I not have this better after 77 of these? How do I still flub this?
Either sign up that you're coming on Facebook, email us, reply to one of the emails you get, tell us, recommend us to a friend, we'll get you in there twice, or just email us and say, hey, put me in the drawing. You just got to some way.
Carrier pigeon, however you can let us know that you want to be entered into the wine drawing, including RSVPing to our Facebook event or replying to our emails.
Come by the office late at night and slip a note through the mail slot of the front door and we'll get you in there.
However you can communicate that you'd like to be in the wine drawing, we will get you in here. And our winner this week of 2 bottles of wine delivered directly to your door is Lynn B. So congratulations, Lynn. You are our wine winner this week. And for everybody else who did not win this week, who did enter, please continue to enter. It brings us great pleasure to give away wine every week.
Oh, and one last thing to mention, if you have, clients know they can call us anytime and talk to us and book a time. But if you're new to this and you want to chat about something, anything at all, if you go to Carolina, the number 1 and 5.com, there's a little online calendar. You can book a 15-minute phone call with us, talk about anything you want. So I need to mention that too, so folks know how to make it easy to get in touch with us. So with that, we have number 77 is in the
I want
bag.
to say something really quickly. Lynn is one of the rare few. I think there's a couple more that have been with us since the beginning that haven't won yet. So we're slowly, they're in there. So yeah, congratulations. Yeah.
Perseverance pays off.
It really does. Yes.
So, enter again next week, rub your rabbit foot about this time, see if it brings you any luck, and we will see you. We'll see you next Thursday at 4:30 for
Next
our
Thursday.
next happy half hour.
Yeah.
Well, you'll
Sorry,
grab a
Mom.
later
Sorry.
Join us at 4:30 where we'll chat about whatever we have not decided yet.
But we will.
But we will.
Sure.
And
Yeah. We will. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye. Keep warm. Bye-bye.